Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and Thor, issue number 1, a brand new Thor title for a brand new year. That's right, remember it, this is the 2020 Thor. So forever, it should be called the 2020 Thor. And for it to come out on the first day, I'm just saying, it's kind of badass. It's a little badass, all right? You know what's even more badass? There's a thunderstorm outside right now. At some points, you may hopefully hear that, because it's only going to add to the ambiance of what this book is. And honestly, like I say it all the time, I love you guys. I want for you what I want for myself. You know what I'm saying? Like I want there to be prosperity and not prosperity gospel, but like actual prosperity for people. I want everybody to have the good things in life. I genuinely do. And right now, there is nothing I could wish more for all of you than to be able to read Thor, issue number 1, 2020, for the first time with a thunderstorm outside. And it generally breaks my heart that some of you guys won't be able to experience that. Can't rain all the time. You all know what that's from, right? Let's get talking about who made this comic book. Then we're going to get into the book itself. Thor, the Devourer King, Part 1, The Black Winter. Donny Cates is the writer, Nick Klein on art, Matthew Wilson doing the colors, and VC's Joe Sabino doing the letters and the design. Oliver Coipel and Laura Martin do the cover art, and Thor was created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. There are a whole lot of variant covers on here, and one of them is actually done by Comic Tom. He actually got that done, and that is pretty cool. That is pretty cool. My comic shop was thinking about doing it, and then just, you know, it's really expensive to do that. I think you got to buy like 5,000, no, 3. I think you got to buy 3,000 copies and at $4.99 cover price. That's a pretty hefty chunk of change. So I genuinely hope he gets all his money back and then some. Maybe consider swinging by. It's a beautiful cover, man. I'm just saying. Anyway, let's get talking about the whole book as it is. Dude, this is sick. This is sick. We start off with Thor throwing Mjolnir across time and space just to bonk a monster on his head from on Earth while he's in Asgard. I like that. I like that. It was weird for a hot second seeing the rainbow following behind it. I'm like, what is it, leading a pride parade? What the hell's going on here? But it really didn't take that long for me to just look at it and just, you know, like I know that some other artists have done that before. Some other writers have called for that before. It's very sparingly used, but in this particular case, it works. It works really well because this is the mythology. Like the space bridge, the Bifrost should be connected to Mjolnir, the hammer. You know what I'm saying? And vice versa. I feel that is just a perfect symbology right there. And he is throwing it from the Bifrost, so maybe that's one of the reasons why it had the rainbow bridge aspect behind it. Either way, just like I could sit here and I could just stare at this all day long, I don't know about all day long, but for a pretty long time and just contemplate it, man. Like that's how beautiful the art is in here. Don't get me wrong for even a quarter of a second. This is beautiful art all throughout, all right? It starts, however, with words and a hammer. I mean, as most Thor stories will. So, and lo, in the darkness, there was thunder, and racing behind it, the roaring voice of a god made king. Hear me, his testament begins. The old king is gone. This is beautiful. And moments later, you know, bonks the monster in the head on Earth, and Tony Stark grabs a Sharpie and writes a love letter to Thor really quick before it returns to his hand, because the hammer will always return to his hand, right? Right? Look, man, there are great moments in here, and this moment of levity in the very beginning of the comic book is going to be very short-lived because this is a very depressing story, and I love it. This is a story of power. This is a story of godlyhood. Like, dude, I don't do it often, but I'll talk about the soundtrack for a particular comic book that I'm reading. Everybody's talking. What the conversation before is that the Jason Aaron run on Thor was like a Led Zeppelin song. I personally didn't see that. Okay, but not many people are as into Led Zeppelin as I am. I will name you the people who wrote and sound engineered every single song in Led Zeppelin's library, so we could play that game if you want. No, I do not think that it was Led Zeppelin at all. It was great. It was amazing, but Led Zeppelin doesn't quite fit it. I will say it's more of a Ronnie James Dio myself, which should not be an insult in any way, shape, or form. Like, woof, you know? Donny Cates says that this is going to be more like Swedish death metal. Well, that's cute. I'm going to tell you right now that this particular issue, at the very least, this is Kiss, God of Thunder. One song. Probably the greatest song they've ever done. Mind you, Kiss is a performance band, so it's not just about the music itself. It's about seeing that show live, seeing that song live, seeing Ace's guitar blast with smoke just shooting out of it. Dude, I'm saying it's a performance. And that's what this looks like. I'm reading performance art. That's what I'm reading when I'm looking at this comic book. Thor gets a visit by another king of Jotunheim. That's Loki's brother. The tete-a-tete between these two was freaking perfect, spot on. Loki does something stupid as he always does. He goads Thor. He tries to piss off Thor. And it works because Thor is easy to piss off. And usually Loki's okay with that. But Thor, he hauls off and he's about to whoop his brother's, like throw the hammer right through his brother's face. A lot of us might be like, I'm so sick of this brother-on-brother violence thing, this nonsense. Just kill him and be done with it. Like, he's never going to change, and you're right, he won't. But he doesn't kill him in this case, and it's the most intelligent, I'm not going to kill you, brother, moment that I've ever seen between Thor and Loki. Why? I'm going to tell you a quick story. A lot of you guys probably already know this. Nikita Khrushchev came over to America one time back in the 50s. And he's like, talking to the president, he's like, listen, I would really like to go to Disneyland. I've heard so much about it. And, we don't have anything like that in Moscow. And I would really like to see Disneyland. The president's like, listen, I would love to, but we can't clear the park out right now. Like, it's a last minute thing. If you would have told me you want to do this a while ago, I would have said, hell yeah, let's do it. But we'd have emptied out the park because right now, like, there's security concerns. I can't be certain that somebody won't, take a shot at one of us. Khrushchev says, in Russia? Like that, I could promise your safety anytime, any place. Now, let's be realistic. That's bluster. It's not true. It's simply not true, all right? But it's great that he got to say that because it's like, wow, what great brownie points that was. In this particular case, we get something just like that. Imagine if the president would have, I don't care who it was, the most evil, freaking vile dictator. You can bring Gottlieb's Law into this if you want. Imagine if Adolf Hitler came walking into the United States to have a conversation with the president, and they said, oh, wow, you're the evilest man alive. You're the evilest man who's ever, in recorded history. Pontius Pilate ain't got nothing on you. Bow! Pop a cap in his ass. I would love to watch that on repeat, back and forth, slow motion. Bring it. But even Henry Kissinger wouldn't want to come over to Henry Kissinger. He's already there. Winston Churchill wouldn't want to come to the United States if that was the case. All right? Greatest ally of the U.S., Great Britain. And nobody would want to come over because you can't guarantee somebody's safety. See how it all folds into with each other? That's exactly what I see here. It's not explained, but it's evident. It's obvious because they are talking about their kingly ranks. And it was a great, great moment. I was just able to pull so much out of this simple little meeting. I want all of these meetings to be stately. I want them all to have this kind of smart thought process behind them because, wow, I love this. I loved this. I loved this. I'm also going to just point out, I love Lady Sif. Absolutely love Lady Sif, man. Wow. We get a bunch of little things here. We get the symbology of the freaking, what is that, third stock? No, third stock is the Thurisaz. The rune. I used to write in runes when I was a kid. Third stock, for the sake of conversation, made that mistake because that's actually Odin's mace that he barely ever used. It's called third stock. Anyway, in the comics. So, dude, like there's a symbology there. There's all these different things there, and I love this. This King Thor. I've got that toy. I've got that Build-A-Figure, including the left leg. The right leg, including the right leg. But what do you call it? Volstagg is trying to talk to him. Hey man, check it out. I got some ale, and you want to get the really cool ale and beer flavored ale and ale flavored beer. Let's just go crazy with it. And Thor just doesn't even want to talk to him. Well, you heard the king. Okay, fine. There was a little bit more comedy after that. Well, what should we do about the ale? Err on the side of too much. These were really good moments, man. All of these moments were really good. What's the key thing that happened, though, between Loki and Thor? This is where maybe I'm just reading too much into this, because that's what I do with my comics. I read into them a lot. I want to suck the marrow out of the bones of these comic books, man. And there's a lot of marrow in these books. Because, wow, there's a lot. Don't do that with one of Thor's goats, though. That would not be a good thing. So anyway, that's regular mythology. So Thor turns when he gets pissed off at Loki. Loki says, "Huh? I never noticed you grunt before when you pick up Mjolnir. What's up? Is it getting a little heavy nowadays?" You know he meant something by it. He's Loki, even if he didn't mean anything by it. He meant something by it, you son of a gun. So this cat, Thor turns around, throws the hammer straight at his face. Mace to the face! No, hammer to the face. He stops it in midair. Why? Well, because he's Thor. He's always been Thor. A little different now. Now he has the Odin power. Maybe it's the Thor power. What is the Odin power? The Odin power originally is Vili and V and Odin. These are the three brothers, the sons of Bor. And they both sacrificed themselves to be able to escape from Ymir. Or is it Surtur? Crap. I think it was Ymir. Anyways, it doesn't matter who it was. No, I think it was Surtur. It was definitely Surtur. Anyway, so they hand over their power to Odin. So now it's the Odin force, the Odin power. That's actually where that comes from. That's actually what it is. But now he's got the Odin power. Odin was never worthy to lift Mjolnir. He never lifted Mjolnir because he was worthy. That was Thor. Well, how did Odin always lift the power, the hammer? Well, according to Jason Aaron, the exact same way that he bound the hammer in the first place. He bound the thunder because he used the Odin force. So Odin is always able to lift that hammer, to catch that hammer, to have the hammer returned to him. It's his hammer, technically, you know? So now that Thor has the Odin power, maybe, this is just me reading into this a bit much, maybe now the hammer is starting to recognize that old taint of Odin power, but on Thor now. It's like, you're worthy, but if you didn't have the Odin power, if you didn't have the Odin power, you'd be lifting me instead of the Odin power lifting me. And even with the Odin power lifting me, I'm only doing it because I'm basically a slave to you. Isn't that a Britney Spears song? Anyway, I read into this like crazy. And he was able to make the hammer stop. That's the Odin force. This is a deep read. So now Thor's walking around talking about, oh man, I got this big speech I got to give. I got to get speechified and whatnot, and inspire the troops and all that stuff. And he's talking about how he'd rehearse in front of the mirror. Saying, because it's one thing to goad your enemy. It's another thing to talk trash to your fellow soldiers and whatnot. Like, we're gonna go there. I'm gonna son of a gun. I'm gonna kill everybody. Yeah, you could. This is a little bit different. This is, you guys are awesome. This is basically like a fireside chassis. You know what I'm saying? A fireside chat. This is going to be a little bit different. And then all of a sudden, yeah, I did not expect this. Odin just crashes on Asgard. Y'all might notice something. Look right down here. Odin seems to be missing a hand. That's noticeable right away, but he's missing an arm from like the elbow down. Odin got jacked up. So there's a force out there, that primordial force. Now this is an interesting concept. We've always known that this is going to be the Black Winter. Okay, that's what this is. That's coming in. Hence the name of this, the Black Winter. When Galactus was still Galan of Ta, he went out to explore his neck of the woods, to explore the universe. Here it just says galaxy, whatever. He was trying to explore as much of the universe as he possibly could when all of a sudden the big crunch happened. There's the Big Bang and the big crunch. Okay? Where all the matter in the universe forms back up and into like a little dot, and then it's going to eventually, boom, explode again, and there's that center, like super duper massive black hole or whatever it is, portal to another dimension, we don't know. That boom, the great expansion, and the universe is still expanding, and then there's the return. All right, eventually there's going to be the heat death of the universe, boom, and it's going to collapse back into the one. Now the whole purpose of Galactus is to go around, in case you don't know, is to go around and gather all these planets, all right, and everything that he possibly can, so that when the big crunch does happen again, he is going to be the one to provide that material in order for the new universe to be born. Now, all of this kind of sort of flies in the face of Al Ewing's run on the Ultimates 1 and 2, which is not the same thing as the Ultimates in the Ultimate Universe. This is in the Earth 616 universe. But this is where the first firmament was introduced, and Galactus became the life bringer and started putting planets back out there. You know what I'm saying? Like all of this. And then Jerry Duggan came along and was like, let's make them purple again. Wasn't a fan of that. I don't have to be a fan of everything. All right? Galactus is back, and now he's on his ass on Asgard, missing an arm. Anyhow, so this knucklehead, that's the purpose of Galactus. But Galactus looked in, and he saw this. Now I just got finished saying we don't know, the Big Bang, the Big Crunch. We don't know, is it a super duper massive black hole? Is it a dimension, a portal gate? Is it something along those lines? Is that big, boom boom thing from Deep Space Nine, Star Trek? Who knows? Well, apparently they know. That's the Black Winter. The Black Winter is when this there's actually another name for it, and I don't want to get too into the comic books here. I don't want to get too into the comic books. Okay, dumbass. I don't want to get too into spoilers with this. I just want to explore what we're seeing. There is the force that actually causes the expansion and retraction of the universe is given a name here. And the event itself is called the Black Winter. Now, when this happens, I'm sorry, I'm on a really cool page right now. I may share it with you. Galactus saw this again. This is happening again right now. Okay, that's kind of fuss. That's kind of messed up. He looked into it and he saw something. This is where we're, this would be like really big spoiler territory now, and I'm just not going to do that to you guys. I kind of like you guys. Comments, not a safe space for spoiler. You spoil your ass off, and I'll respond to what I can. Talk amongst yourselves, discuss. All right, but the video is a safe space. Okay, I'm just trying to get you to buy this comic book. So Galactus comes and says, "Thor, I need your help." From what I saw. Thor starts gathering a whole bunch of different heralds, and this is where I am going to show you. This is the last page I'm going to show you. He gets a whole bunch of heralds up in here. Yes, of course, Cosmic Ghost Rider is there. But you know who else is here, which is pretty cool? You all know Beta Ray Bill, right? This is Alpha Ray. He's not named in this. I just know it because Beta Ray Bill is one of the greatest freaking characters on the face of the planet. Alpha Ray Bill. Look him up. That's a whole lot of fun, man. That's a whole lot of fun. So the heralds get together, and Silver Surfer goes and explains what exactly is happening here. This is the page where everything is on for the most part, and the next page. This is where everything really begins, where the entire groundwork for this arc, maybe this run, is going to go. There's a moment in here. There's a moment in here where Thor walks up to Galactus and he calls out, "Kneel." I'm going to leave you with that and one other thing. There's a brand new herald appearing in this book. If you were to judge a book by its cover, one of the many, many, many covers that they got, I'd say this is a freaking awesome book. I particularly love the dressing. I love the new logo. It looks very much like the old Straczynski logo, doesn't it? Except that the H has the bar going this way instead of this way, and the R isn't coming to a little hook at the bottom. It's so good, and yet still, it's unique enough. You got to keep on changing that logo, man. That's how you keep that copyright safe. Oh, man. If I'm going to judge a book by its cover, and all of its covers, this is a hot book. If I'm going to judge an arc by a first issue, this is going to be an amazing arc. I can't wait until the arc is done so I can really judge the run. I'm going to tell you a problem with Donny Cates. Okay, everybody's like, whoa, 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 Professor, you have not yet said a single bad thing about Donny Cates. Well, that's about to change right now. Here's the problem with Donny Cates. He has never been given the opportunity, or he's never taken the opportunity, to actually stay on a run longer than a year or so, maybe a year and a half, whatever it was, all right? Never really had the opportunity to do that. At the very least, not with a sandbox character. A creation you created on your own, that's one thing, but an actual sandbox toy like a Marvel or a DC character. I'm hoping that Cates is in this for the long run. We just had a 7-year run with Aaron. How long are we going to get with Cates on this? I don't know. But we know that Cates is good for that short-term thing. You know what I'm saying? He's good for that power hitting, holy crap, this was badass, whoa, where'd that come from? In short bursts. But could we rope-a-dope a Cates? Hope not. But I'd actually like to test that theory. I would really like to see Cates on this run for longer than a year. I would love to see him on Thor for at least minimum 2 years. But let's actually see what this guy can do long term. Why is that so important to me right now? Because of what he writes in the back of this book. Every so often you get a letter, in the beginning and the end of a run of a comic book, right? We get a letter to the fans that Donny wrote towards the end of November. All right. Interesting. And I've heard this before. I have heard this from people before. Personally, I've never experienced that. All right. I don't write so much as I tell stories. I run my games. I tell my stories and whatnot. I'm a storyteller. It's a little bit different than being a writer. It's an oral tradition. All right. It's not a pen to paper tradition. By telling stories, personally, I love being able to take the sandbox characters, but I also don't have to return them the way that I found them. I could change them irrevocably and forever. So I could change the universe, and I often do. With Cates now, he's saying that you lose that magic. You lose that magic because now suddenly you're writing the characters, you're making the characters, as opposed to reading them. The excitement is gone. All right. How about this? How about we see if Cates can actually be the magic himself? Let's find out. Because we're talking about a person who he respects a great deal. That's Jason Aaron. He's continuing that story. The Hammer still has that dumb stem look. I don't like that dumb stem look. I'm facts, all right? I'm not making a video for Cates or Aaron or anybody else. I'm making a video for you guys. I'm talking about me. That's what I'm doing. I don't do an audience of one. I hate that stupid stick, thing. I hope that goes back to, the way it was, or change it. Something. I like it more like this. I like it a little more like this. Can't blame me. All right? All that being said, he's still got the destroyer arm. Maybe if it can be shrunk a little bit because it's a little bit weird. There are moments in here where you see the way that it's drawn. It looks like he's, walking like this, one foot in front of the other, but both of his arms are the same. No, you look a little bit closer, you recognize that the arm is actually trying to swing backwards. You can see the top of the knuckles, though, which is a little bit off-putting. But one finger always does that when I broke my metacarpal. Look what I did to the other guy. Anyway, so you want to see that it's going backwards, and it should be because it is hanging backwards. But since the arm is bigger, it's going to look like it's the same size as the other arm. So that's a weird pose. It just is what it is. I kind of want that gone. I kind of want him to have his regular eye back, all that stuff. And it looks like a lot of that stuff is going to happen. Because you can judge a book by its cover, if the cover is done right. So yeah, let's see if I get my wish. See if you guys read that last page and see if it's a good reason why it might happen. Anyway, guys, I genuinely love this book. I genuinely, to my core, I loved this issue. I can't wait to see more. So the end of every month, it's looking like we're going to get a new Thor book. Awesome. Gives me a good reason to want every month to end. I'm on board on this. Stay worthy. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.